Well, on a trip to Atlanta recently, I stopped into this hole-in-the-wall restaurant to grab dinner. It's one of those places that 30 years ago, without reviews being widely available on the internet, I wouldn't have even known existed. There's maybe 5 or 6 booths and a couple of two-top tables in the middle of the space, able to accommodate a couple dozen people. There's 2 gentlemen behind the counter and grill, the owners of the place. They're welcoming, polite, and funny, even telling me what I owe in pennies. I respond, well, I hope you accept paper money or plastic because the bank's closed at this hour. He gives me a fake worried look and we all have a laugh. The food at Baraka Shawarma, nestled in downtown Atlanta near the campus of Georgia State University and the Georgia State Bar, was absolutely delicious. I would highly recommend them just on that. It was something that happened while we were eating, though, that endeared me to this place and made me want to tell their story. A gentleman walks in and he goes to the counter while we're eating. I missed the full conversation myself, but my wife caught it and shared it with me. He's one of our many country people that are struggling. He pulls out some money and asks the owners what he can get with what he has in his pockets. They ask him how much he has and helps him count it out. They then tell him what they can do for him for the amount, and it wasn't insignificant. Having gone to a college in an urban environment, I saw this play out dozens of times. Most times the person was turned away with verbal bitterness. That can't buy anything here. Here, though, are 2 small shop owners telling this person that they're willing to meet him partway and help him out, that they see value in him. As my wife commented, how great for the community. It got me to thinking, what if the owners weren't the ones behind the counter at that moment? What if they had several restaurants across Atlanta or Georgia? Would this culture of caring happen at those other restaurants with them not there? When we scale up, it can be difficult to maintain that culture that we started with. The day-to-day operations can sometimes become more distant for the founding members. They might entrust their business to others, general managers, managers. Do they truly empower them while giving them the vision of what their business is and what they want it to be so that this can be carried out everywhere? It's often the downfall of smaller businesses. The founders scale up in every area, but they fail to understand what it takes to scale up that awareness of culture and identity that the employees are responsible for instilling in every interaction. The culture slowly and many times quickly fades away, and the business loses what the customers loved most about it. Most startups and single location businesses have a culture that is a direct reflection of the founder, their values, their personality, and their vision. Many of these folks might not realize the impact they have on the culture of their organization and think it'll just carry forth as they scale up. However, the values become less personal, or people might not buy into them because they didn't have a say in developing those values. How can we scale up values while scaling up a business? The first thing to do is write down your values and make them widely known. As your company grows, your mission, vision, and values can and should be readdressed. As you scale up, it's about carrying forward what got your company to this point and highlighting that for every employee. After you identify your values and make them ready to share, you need to define each value in observable behaviors. You want a couple of observable behaviors for each value. If you have a value of foster innovation, well, you need to tell employees what that looks like in your company. Observable behaviors might include bringing people together that have opposing views and experiences, or listening with the intent to understand and not to respond. You also need to make sure that employees have access to learning so they can build skills in the behaviors and skills that were defined for each of your values. How can this information be made available to everyone? Many companies have an orientation program as part of their onboarding that helps identify the culture in the organization. Learning is a continual process, and companies' resources during growth are often placed in other areas that generate revenue, ignoring the potential of learning programs or the potential long-term damage of not having learning programs. Finally, the managers need to reinforce behaviors by modeling the values themselves and coaching those that are struggling with demonstrating behaviors important to your organization's values. Personalized recognition is highly important when employees are demonstrating the behaviors associated with your values. Even the simplest behaviors should be recognized. Coaching should be done in a positive way, as everyone is learning during this time. And negative reinforcement, well, that might cause some employees to check out during a critical time of growth. As you grow your business or grow in a business, don't leave the culture piece behind thinking everything is fine. An organization's culture should be as much about strategy as any other part of a growth plan. It needs to be nurtured through the journey. It might be the equivalent of forgetting to pack your underwear for a trip. Sure, you can get through your trip just fine, though you might be uncomfortable, or it might cost you more and the product might not quite be what you're used to having available.